Hi everyone, this is a lesson on how to use JCryptool. So I've already downloaded JCryptool to my PC, to my laptop, and I have already installed it. I'm not going to go through that because the installation instructions are relatively simple. What I am going to do is go through how to use it. So when you open up JCryptool, one thing you'll notice is it looks like a big blank screen. It opens up typically in the default mode. And when you look at the drop-down menus on the left-hand side of the toolbar, File, Edit, Algorithms, you click on them and okay, you click on algorithms, and if you click on asymmetric, for example, RSA, it's all grayed out. It won't do anything. Um, when you click on hashing, it won't do anything. So you're wondering what is going on here. Uh, Now, when you click on visuals, it will do, and that is exactly how we're going to do the RSA crypto system down here. But the main point is that I do want to point out is that what you're going to use in order to make this work is you're going to use the two buttons over here on the right-hand side of your screen. They look like toggle switches actually between default, which is where we are, and algorithm. So I'll click on algorithm. An algorithm brings up a lot of different algorithms here, and you can actually, it'll give you information on them. But we're not going. This is not the method that we're going to use in order to run these algorithms. So on our assignment, we're going to be using the Vigenere square. We're going to be using exclusive OR. We're going to be using RSA encryption. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, for example, give without using the methodology that we're, without using the questions that we're going to have in our um, assignment, go through using some other uh, keys and such in order to display this to you. Now, the other thing you'll notice about algorithm is that, well, file, typically you can open up and you see all these ones here I've already used because I was practicing with this for about 3 hours this past weekend in order to make this work. And so it took me 3 hours to figure it out because I was using Cryptool. Cryptool is a little bit different, but it won't run on Mac, and that's why we're using JCryptool. So again, toggling between default and algorithm is something that is important to understand. Now, the other thing is we need to load certain data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead you through the RSA encryption, then I'll lead you through the Vigenere square, and I'll lead you through exclusive OR, and I believe those are the ones on the assignment that you'll be doing. So, and I'll lead you through a hashing example as well. So let me go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the default mode, and we're going to do the visuals because the visuals like a step-by-step of these and how you use them. And so we're going to go all the way down to RSA crypto system. So I'm going to move this a little downward. We'll get back to what's on the bottom before, because here's where we're going to set our key. And the key, of course, as you see on the screen, is you have an E, a D, an N, and the key type. But we'll get to that in a minute. First, what we have to do is we have to go ahead and set our key. So in my document for you, it says the red button. So when I refer to the red buttons, I'm referring to these on the left-hand side of the screen here. So the first thing we're going to do is going to set the key. Now I've already set one to work for the assignment, so I'm going to set another one. Okay. But anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to do a new, you're not going to do an existing public key. You're going to do a new key pair because you've got to set the public and private key. So a new key pair, and you go to next. Now here you just drop down. It makes it very, very simple. Our key is going to be a 3. This is not what is on the assignment. Our Q is going to be 11. So we only have prime numbers, and it gives us back an n of 33 and the totient of 20. Now remember, this phi of n is called the totient, and it is basically calculated by subtracting 1 from each of p and q, which would give you 2 and 10, and 2 times 10 is 20. Then we have to choose our encryption exponent e between 1 and phi n. So it's got to be less than phi of n, and you notice all that's displayed are the ones that are less than phi of n. And I'm using the example from Mike Whitman and Herb Matter to their textbook, the two professors at Kennesaw State. They use 7, so we'll use 7. But the main thing, of course, is when you look at this, you're always going to see that the E that you can choose, and I'm going to give you an E from on the assignment, but the E that you can choose always has to be less than the totient, in this case, 20. To give you an example of this, if I had made P of 5 and Q of 11, that's 40. Now you see prime numbers for E all the way up to 40, which, 39 is the largest. But we'll go back to 3 because that's what the example I'm going to use, and we'll choose 7. And that gives you a D of 3. And of course, if I had gone back to the 5 and I had chosen, I don't know, let's say 23, 20, an E of 23, which, because that is, um, and now you notice 27 is not a prime number, but 27 is um, not prime with these. So what happens then? You get a D of 7. But we'll just go back to 3, or relatively prime is what it is. And so we'll choose 7, and we get a D of 3. We're going to save the key pair. Now that's important because you're going to use it later, so you need to save it. So you go to next, and you can enter your first name, your last name. I don't really care. I've got a key pair already saved with a first name and last name, so I'll put this with my, I'll just call it Professor Katz, okay? Because I don't want to play around with that other key pair. And you have to key in a password. Remember, it's not going to display it. So I'll key in the name of my son and daughter-in-law puppy. And it's going to tell you it doesn't match, of course. It does. Okay, now we're not looking for any lengthy password here. It needs to be something you can remember. It doesn't need to be, totally secure. I wouldn't use password or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nobody's going to access it, but you. And it can be upper or lower, so don't forget that. And then you click finish. Okay, so now when you set the key, it turns to green, as you see there. So I'm going to slide down a little bit, and you see the 7, 3, 33, and it's a prime. Okay, so now we're going to enter our text, and this is what you'll have to do on the assignment. Now I'm going to give you something else on the assignment, but I go in here and I enter my text. And it's text-based input, so I click yes. And really all of these need to be just left alone. You're really not going to, now I'll show you the example what happens down here when you do this. I'm going to use the word that Whitman Matter uses in their textbook, which is just the word technology. So in decimal, it comes out to be 19. In hex, 13. In binary, of course, that's 13. And in text, it comes back as a T, which really wouldn't work with you. And a lot of what we do in this, we're going to be using decimal. Convert characters into indices like the alphabet. I mean, you could go with, I believe, more. And so we don't want the exclusive order, so we're going to go Upper Latin, Lower Latin. So we'll just go with, if you go with Lower Latin, then of course it's going to come up as something different. So we'll go with Lower Latin and leave it as that. So we'll leave it as A to Z. Or you can actually choose a custom alphabet if you wanted to, but we're not going to do that on this assignment. Compose the alphabet, click on the blocks. So, you could actually enter them in manually, or you could click on, now you've got A to Z's, and so that would work. Of course, it doesn't really enter it. So then what happens is we'll just cancel. We'll just use lower Latin, and on the assignment, it'll all be lowercase text. Okay, so this gives decimal 9427, as you can see, and hex, um, and binary, uh, and text back to that. Okay, so we'll leave it as text, show it as decimal, and we're just going to go finish it. So there's the text entered in, and you can see it as decimal right here, and hex, and binary, and we'll show it as decimal because we're going to encrypt this sucker as decimal. So then here's where it becomes really tricky. You want to encrypt this, okay? So when you go through the encryption, you click on encrypt, and you're wondering what is going on here. Well, we're going to go ahead and, as you can see, start. So you click start, and it's going, well, steps. Well, technology has 10 letters, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So what you're going to encrypt in the assignment is going to be, I believe, 23 characters, including spaces. So you've got to click on this thing 10 times. On the assignment, I think it's 23 times. So if you scroll down, then what you see is the step results as you go further. You can make this go up so you can actually see the step results there. And you can see them start populating. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now we have encrypted that as this. And if you were to show it as something other than this, you could show it as hex, you could show it in binary, you could show it as decimal. I would go ahead and leave it as decimal, and this is the answer you're going to have to give for that part of the question. Plus, you have to take a screenshot of this, okay? So I'm just going to copy this and open up a Word document. And you're not going to be submitting new. So I'm going to open up a Word document, and I'm just going to put it here, there. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that and go back to here. I'm sorry, go back to J-Crypt. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to decrypt this thing. And so when we go to the decryption, we got, again, where it says the red button. So we're going to go ahead and we've got to set the key. So when we set the key, we want the existing key pair that we chose next. And there's Professor Katz. I've got others. Alice and Bob are, of course, provided by them. Here's my other one, but I'm going to use the one I created. And I've got to enter the password. So again, like I said, don't make it something that is totally secure. It doesn't have to be, but you have to be able to remember it. And then I'll click Finish. Okay, so it brings my key up here. And then I enter in the text. So again, hex, binary, paste. So now I can, it'll show it as hex, it'll show it as binary, but I'll go ahead with the decimal and I'll click Finish. And then I just click Decrypt. And it turns to green. And once again, I've got to do the function here, which is click Start. And since I've got 10 letters in there, I've got to do it. So 2, 3, 10. So I get down here, and there it is. But what I'm going to want you to do, of course, it's got to be the one that we already had. That's the encryption, decimal, text. I can't remember if on the assignment you need to display the word. I think you do. In other words, the result. But there it is, the word technology. So that's how we do the RSA visual, if you will. Okay, so let me go on, and we're going to go to Vigenere Square, and then we'll do exclusive OR. Okay, so let's look at Vigenere Square. Of course, again, when I go to algorithms, they're all grayed out. So the toggle switch here is my friend. Basically, I'm going to go ahead. First of all, in this mode, I can open up a new file or open an existing file. So I'm going to open a file, and here's my example. This is the one you're going to use on your homework, and I open it up. And It looks like you don't see anything. So you go to algorithm and there it is. That's the example there. Cell gold today is the example, but now I've got to go to the Vigenere square. So I see it here in algorithm, but now that I've got something to work with, I don't see the algorithms here. I have to go back to default. Now that I've loaded something classic, now they're no longer grayed out. So now I go and I do my Vigenere. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to encrypt upper and lower Latin. And you could show the alphabet, but you know that that's the alphabet. Okay. Or you have to click on there to close it, or you could just upper Latin or lower, but I'll choose upper and lower because I can't remember if I made it upper and lower. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So now I got to give it a key. So in the example in Whitman and Mattern's textbook, they use the word Italy, which we've used in IT 2531 as an example. So I'm going to use that. On the assignment, you've got to use a different key, and I don't even remember what it is, but it's on the Word document. So I'm going to key in ITLY. Oops, there we go, Italy. And then basically, you can go to next, and it says replacement of units, upper and lower, preview, there's the example. But, we're trying to decrypt this thing, so we go back, rather encrypt this thing, so we go back and we click finish. So where'd the answer go? Well, the answer under is out text 1. And this is upper and lower of cell gold today. And I guarantee you that if you were to, now again, when we do the Vigenere square, we did it in IT 2531. We did not use upper and lower, okay? But so basically, if I chose just upper, that would have worked. I believe on the assignment, your input is upper only, so you could have chosen upper only again. Obviously, this is a little bit different. If I go in and change it, okay, so I change it to that, and then I go back to the default, and I go back to the algorithm and classic and Vigenere, and then I do the whole thing, and I ask for just for upper, and I key in Italy again as my key, and I just finish it. So where to go? Again, now I've got out text 2, and it looks like that, except it's that. So I'm going to give you the input as upper, and I'm going to give you, and your key is upper, so you might as well select the uppercase Latin as opposed to both, and it'll work. Okay, so that's the Vigenere square. Okay, so now you're going to copy and paste this into the answer, whatever from the assignment. You're going to copy and paste that into the document. Of course, it clearly states in the assignment that you're going to be creating a separate document. So you're going to be turning in two documents. One is the one that you're given, which the answers will be entered into, and the other is a separate Word document that contains your images. And some of these answers, if you don't provide the image, you get no credit for the answer, even if your answer is correct. So you have to provide the image. And of course, that's just a copy and paste into a Word document. You should have some kind of caption below each image that clearly states what it is, which one of these it is. There's no reason to put 2 to a page. If it squishes it too much up, you could. But the main thing is you have to have the images there. So it's going to have to be there. Once you've done the copy and paste into your answer document, which is the one I provide you, and you've done the copy and paste of the image into the other Word document, then you can close these guys out. So I'm just going to close it. Do you want to save the changes? Don't save, and so forth. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, since I'm in algorithm, I'm going to open up another file, and this is my exclusive OR. So I'm going to open it, and I've got for exclusive OR here. So it's cat. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my default now that I've got something saved, and I'm going to go ahead, classic, exclusive OR, and here, so we're going to encrypt it, and here we just have 32 characters, and it includes numerics, so we don't, okay. So the key, we're going to be exclusive ORing that particular, I believe it's cat, that file, so we'll just use bet. Okay, manual file, we're going to key it in, and on the assignment, I think that's the one I asked, but you just have to read the assignment to be sure. And then we're just going to finish. Okay, so we have to go back to algorithm and see what we got, and that's DEA. Now, I can't remember if on the assignment I asked you to convert this to hexadecimal. Obviously, you could do it. I think I do. And so you could go in and find any website that, let's see. So, okay, so convert text to hexadecimal. And this is the one I think I used. Yeah. So DEA, convert to hexadecimal, 444541. So I think that's what you would, that's not the answer to the problem, but I think that's what you would want to, that's what I'm asking for. So you need to key that thing into, copy it into the assignment. You need to space each one out so it's got, some spacing. So it'd be 44 space 45 space 41. And of course, you need to take an image of the JCryptool page. I believe I asked for that. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But in any case, that's how you do that. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do hashing. So let me go ahead and bring that up. Now, I do want to say one thing going back to the Vigenere square. I'm asking you to do it twice, really. I'm asking you to do it once with a particular key that I give you, and then I'm asking you to do it again with what I call a key that's in error. In other words, I have changed one character of that key. So you're asked to do it twice. And you're going to have to run the Vigenere square once against the correct key and then once against the incorrect key. So I just want to make sure that, and the incorrect key is pretty obvious in the handout. You should not be able to miss that. Let me take that back. Sorry about that. You're going to, let's go back to the Vigenere square again. You're going to encrypt it with a particular key, okay? And then you're going to decrypt it with the key, but the key is in error. So let me give you the example again of encrypting and decrypting and how that works. Because I already showed you encrypting, but let's go decrypt, okay? And it shouldn't take very long to do that. So let me go close out this file, don't save it, and we'll close out that file. And we're going to load our Vigenere again. Okay, so now I made it all capital, so it's sell gold today. Okay, so now we go back to default, and we go to algorithms, and we go to classic, and we go to Vigenere. And we're going to encrypt it. So we're going to tell it we have all upper, so we'll just use uppercase, okay? And then the key we had was Italy. Okay, so we go into Italy, and we just click finish. And when we get our answer here, this is what we got. Now we're going to go ahead and decrypt this, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to use this as input. So we probably want to copy and paste it. Go back to default, go back to Vigenere, classic, Vigenere, and we're going to decrypt it. So we click the decrypt button, and we click Italy is our key. show the alphabet, click the finish, go back to the algorithm, and that's not what I wanted, because I wanted, let's close that out again. So we're going to do it again. But what happens here is I need to have um, all uppers. So this is my input to it. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is my output of it. So I go back to default, algorithm, classic, and on the assignment, I changed one letter. So I'm going to change one letter here. That was my big problem with that. So I'm going to go ahead. We know it's this, we encrypted cell gold today. So the upper Latin, and I used Italy. So I'll use ITLU, something totally different, okay? Because you're supposed to do that too. When I click finish and I go back to algorithm, and you notice it's slightly different. And so that's what you're looking for on the assignment for that. Okay, so that's the end of Vigenere. I've done RSA, I've done Vigenere, I've done exclusive OR. We're going to do hashing, and then we'll call it quits. Okay, so now we're going to do hashing. This will be our last one. There is one more part of the assignment where you're actually going to have to go ahead. You have to do Caesar. That's pretty simple. It's it's the same routine where you got to click on default, climb window, um, algorithms, classic, Caesar. And we're not going to do Caesar right now. And you just have to make sure that the assignment, which asks for you to decrypt what I give you, they're going to be decrypting, not encrypting. Okay, because on the assignment, I believe that's extra credit down here. You have to actually um, you have to actually um, use what I give you as the input text file for it, and then the key for the Vigenere is prime, and you get an answer back. The encrypted, I'm not going to go through the digital signature, but it's similar to SHA-3. And so what we're going to do is um, we're going to use SHA-3 for the hashing. So it's very, very similar. You have to go through the instructions on that. So let's go back to JCryptool and just do the hashing. Let me close out Caesar. And we're going to, if we don't have, we do have it already loaded. So gold today. So we're going to go back to default, and we go to hash, and we need to go to SHA-3 candidates because the others will not work properly. So basically here, we're going to leave everything as it is. We're going to leave echo, the bit length, but here, the output of the hash needs to be in the text editor, because if it's in the hex editor, you're not going to be able to copy and paste it. If it's a hash stream, that's all well and good, but you're not going to get the spaces between each hexadecimal answer, so that won't work either. So you really want text editor. Okay, I believe I even say that in the assignment. No, I've got it as hash stream. I'm going to have to change that, because otherwise what's going to happen is you're not going to, well, for this one, for just J, you could leave it as hash stream, or you could leave it as text editor, one or the other. But when you come down here, you're going to have to use text editor for the hashing. So, because that's the encrypted version of it, and that's not a hash stream because it has spaces in it. So I'll probably change this part of the assignment to say text as well. It hasn't been posted yet. So we go ahead, we create the hash, and we finish. So where's the answer? Again, an algorithm, and here it is. See, in this, when you copy and paste it to your assignment, it'll have the spaces in it. So if I put it in here, probably want to move this over a little. There they are. Okay, so you've got the spacing. The hash stream would have no spacing, but then you can't read it properly. And the other problem is, like I said, when we go down, you go down to section K and L using RSA encryption and hashing to confirm a digital signature, it doesn't work that well in the hashing part does not work that well with the hash stream. So you really need, because it's given to you as a hash stream, as a text version of it, not the actual hash stream, you probably want to just stick with using um, text editor, and I'll change these before I post it. Okay, so then of course, basically speaking, what I do is I go ahead, I put a period at the rear end of this thing, and the idea, of course, and I go back to default, and I go to hashing, and I go to SHA3, and I tell it I want it as a text editor, and I click finish, and I go back to algorithm, and you can see right away it's already quite different. And that's the point here, that it is all you add is one period, and we've done this in IT 2531, and it's going to be quite different. Of course, you got to give me the screen version. So I'll change this to text editor, because really you're going to have to use the text editor down here when you do the encryption and hashing to confirm the digital signature. Because you're given a hash as the text editor version, not the hash stream, because it's got the spacing. And then you're given the encrypted version of a signature in decimal, so you're going to have to deal with that. Okay, so I hope this hasn't been too confusing, but once you get the hang of using the RSA encryption, it really and the Vigenere and the exclusive, or once you get the hang of using JCryptool, it really is not that difficult. And it is something that it's just a matter of remembering that you have to constantly toggle, back and forth, because you're not going to be able to do the algorithms, whatever they are, without um, without being in the default mode. And then, here you see your answers really in the algorithm output mode is what it amounts to. So I hope this helps. And I'll change the homework assignment to clearly say text editor on that, but that shouldn't be that big a change. And so hopefully, like I said, this will help you, and you really you're gonna be forced to watch this in order to allow you to access the assignment.